Doom vivamos vivamos Epicureans. This is the BCE Comics Pod one-shot edition. I'm your host, Nick Smith, and I'm joined by...
Stojr from Stojr Shelf. How's it going, Nick?
I'm doing well, particularly since we are participating in Kurtis Findlay's Epic Marvel Podcast Reading Club, and this one-shot is going to be our brief thoughts on today's issue, which is Uncanny X-Men number 170, Dancing in the Dark. I'm assuming this was a phrase before Bruce Springsteen had his song. Sorry, I see that, and that just kind of comes to mind. I was definitely listening to that cassette tape in the 80s, because who wasn't? All right, so the X-Men continue to be held captive by Callisto and the Morlocks, but there is a convenient out. If someone defeats their leader in combat to the death, then that person becomes the new leader of the Morlocks. Well, Storm takes on this challenge, defeats and presumably kills Callisto, and the X-Men leave with the incapacitated Angel and Kitty Pryde. Meanwhile, something is happening with the mind readers and precogs in the mutant world. Rogue leaves the care of Mystique for parts unknown, and Scott is getting even... I have a typo in my notes now. I'm trying to decipher what I was saying. Scott is getting a little more familiar with Madeline Pryor. I'm assuming where I'm going there.
You go.
All right, Stojr, what are your thoughts?
Well, and just off of that, I mean, he left his... he left the sea captain blanking on her name. I'm sure he had a nice goodbye there too. So everybody's having a little fun and relaxation after the Brood saga. So for me, this is an issue that has a lot of nostalgia. I love this issue. I think it's got the climax of this storyline here. I had this collected in this From the Ashes trade paperback. The From the Ashes, is playing off of a story that we're going to get in a few issues. But this collected 168 through 172. I have to guess because this is back when they did the collected editions. They didn't do a good job of kind of labeling them. Not only that, the covers are not they're in the back. They're not in the main issue.
I hate that.
But one of the big things, if you wouldn't mind bringing up, with the first or second page of the comic viewer, it doesn't really matter what. One of the big changes in this, from the way it's printed, is that you'll see here. I don't know if you can tell, but like this has very much like the dots that old comics had for the printing. I don't know if you can see that on my camera.
Can't really know.
Yeah, so because when you're looking at it in person, you can see that all the printing is a set of dots. If you zoomed in, you would see spaces between the colors of the dots. And the collected editions that we get now smooth all that out. And so there's a nostalgia to the dots, and there's some people that like that. But I prefer, much cleaner, smoother, brighter colors when they kind of blend all that stuff together. I think it looks really cool. I did not get a chance to fish out my X-Men Classic issue. I kind of forgot about it, but that's got an awesome cover to it too. And at this point in time, the X-Men Classic issues were straight up reprints. They didn't add any new content, and they've been that way for a little while. So there was nothing new in that book. It was just a reprint of this particular issue. The sort of romance between Scott and Madeline feels very rushed, and I think we'll say that as like an overall thing. And I think the excuse for that is that she looks so much like Jean that he just kind of falls head over heels. And then when we get into later, we'll get other reasons why that might be the case. I find it interesting again that Paul Smith here, and I say again because I don't remember if he was the one that did it previously, but an artist previously, plays around with silhouettes. So you get Madeline in front of the fire on the 119, that panel in the top middle. You get Madeline in front of the fire. It's sort of a pseudo excuse to draw her naked without drawing her naked, because you're seeing her body through the dress there.
But it's evoking
I
the
love
Phoenix, is it not, with the fire around her?
Well, that too,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, you're getting all of that sort of imagery of the fire there, and I guess you get a shot of like Paul drawing Jean. We were talking about that in the last episode. I
That's
forgot that there
true.
was a picture in here, and you can see how similar they are, but they're really trying to distinguish with the hair, I think,
Yeah.
and really show that Madeline has kind of like shorter hair almost. Or at least she has her hair up here. But yeah, I think the idea is she's got shorter hair
Yeah.
than Jean,
Yep.
and that's the major distinguishing factor here. Um, it's interesting too that like the Iceman and Angel, it feels like Claremont doesn't care about them. Like he brings Angel back every once in a while, but he has nothing really to do. Like he was there, he did a few things, and then he's just like leaves because he's pissed off at Wolverine. And then here he's just kind of captured and he's like a trophy.
I don't even think
So
Angel says anything, right? He's just captive. He
yeah, I
doesn't
think
say
he's
a
like
word.
knocked out the whole time. You're
Yeah.
right. And then, spoilers for things come ahead, but like, I feel like I always get this confused with Mutant Massacre because I feel like he's in the same exact position in 30 issues or whatever it is, right? So anyway, so we'll talk about that in a future volume. Um, the the mastermind stuff is or the dream for rather for Mystique is slightly confusing. Like I don't understand like how she's having this dream. Is that and maybe it gets explained somewhere else, but like she's not the precog, that's Destiny.
Right.
Um, you know, we're not aware of Mastermind interacting with her yet, and I don't think we become aware of that, at least in the issues that we talk about. So it's a little like, why is she having this vivid dream here? And it's a seed that I don't think ever pays off unless I hope to be mistaken as we do our read through and we find something there. But it's just, this scene sets up an excuse to kind of separate Rogue from her family here, and what will eventually happen there. But this all leads to sort of that climactic page on 133, which is just the most badass page that you could have, where, Callisto throws the knife at Storm, and Storm, dead ass, doesn't even move, grabs the knife, twists it around in her hand, and is ready to go. And I always thought that this was the coolest thing. And the fact that, it literally scares Nightcrawler and Colossus as to what's going on here. And, with the thought process here that, like, she's in a rebuilt body, she's going through some things with her powers, something's off. Not entirely sure if in the next volume we'll kind of get an explanation for that or if she just kind of works through it. But she's going to sit here and she's dealing with not only the illness that she has here from the Morlocks infecting on her, but she's dealing with her claustrophobia, and she stabs Callisto and basically kills her. Right? Stabs her right through the heart, until she's ultimately taken care of, and then takes charge. I think all of that's really strong. Really enjoy that stuff. And then, the issue closes out with Cyclops revealing who he is to Madeline. Again, just kind of showing that we're on like a roller coaster here of, how quickly their relationship is taking off. Feels a little odd. And maybe it's intended to feel a little odd because it sort of builds a mystery that we as the readers might actually think she is a reincarnated Jean Grey. And I think the subtext in future issues will play with this too. What are your thoughts?
Well, and I mean, to that point, the Phoenix that's the whole thing about the mythological creature, the Phoenix, is it dies and is born again. So, taking on that persona and it being not just a name change for her, but this Phoenix force that takes over her, then, it's reasonable to think, oh, there's a possibility here. Particularly for we, the reader. I mean, for the people in the universe,
Yep.
maybe that's a harder thing to swallow, but... in terms of all the weird precog stuff, I glossed over it in the previous issue, but Emma Frost, something went wrong with her. She became comatose when she sought out Sebastian Shaw. That was in another thing. And so the the precog here, not Mystique, but her fellow evil mutant, she's having some things that are hidden from her. And yeah, why is Mystique having a weird dream? We don't know. But it seems like and Xavier has his problems, right? His inability to get past this mental block so he can walk or whatever it is. It sure seems like Claremont is setting something up. I have no idea what, though. I don't remember. And maybe, as you say, this is something that just gets ignored in the future. But it sure seems like this is the sort of build-up that we get in comics where you have the main story, but then you break away for just a little bit to see some other side characters.
I think some of it will be explained in what is it, 173 or this trade annoys me. Sorry, I was looking at the old trade that doesn't have the covers in it. So, or it doesn't even have all the covers in it. It has like a handful of them in the back, so that it throws me off. But the issue that we'll get to much later on in this volume, 175. So I think I want to say that there's a throwaway line in 175 that explains at least Emma. I have to kind of scan it again to see if it explains the Mystique side. And it might explain the Xavier side just by default there. But I don't think it explicitly calls out the Xavier side. So I think you're right that they're setting something up. I don't think that they make it clear enough in the payoff, but we can revisit that when we do 175 and see if I just missed something and my reading comprehension needs a little work there.
Sure. On the kind of similar point with Mystique here, there's something I thought was rather interesting, and maybe this is just Paul Smith's style, but Mystique looks like she's being portrayed as a rather old woman, right? Her skin is clinging to her quite a bit, and I don't recall her being depicted that way before, which I guess begs the question. She's a shapeshifter. She can look however she wants, right? So is this actually her when there's no one in the house to see what she looks like, right? Yes, her precog friend Destiny is there, but Destiny's blind. She can't see her. Rogue is gone. So is this when she finally just lets it out, or am I reading too much into a simple panel?
I think the short answer is no, you're not reading too much into it. So, everything's blending together. So spoilers, because I don't know I'm trying to remember what's been revealed so far and what's not. But when they reveal that she is Nightcrawler's mom in X-Men Unlimited 2 or 3, or I think it's X-Men Unlimited 3 in the 90s. There is she's like basically married to like a baron or something like that. Now you could write that off that that's just Europe at this time, or you could write it off that that's way in the past. I don't remember specifically if they call out like a year for that or something like that. And then there's an arc in I guess it's the mid 2000s in the Wolverine series called Get Mystique, and it's a 3 or 4 issue arc. And it shows them having a history in the past, like in the Old West, together. So Mystique, I think, is old canonically. So the ability to shapeshift also grants her the ability to extend her life. Beyond that, like how old is she? When was that introduced? Was it always there? I'm not sure, but yeah, she's. In comics, she's supposed to be, much older than she seems.
Well, in which case, unless she's made appearances outside of this, I guess we've had some hints that she made some appearances in Avengers comics, but at least in the X-Men comics, this would be the first hint of that, I think. Because this is the first time
they don't talk about any lineage. I mean, you must be right, because none of the background for Nightcrawler's been introduced yet. They only kind of tease that like there's some relationship there. That's all they did.
Oh, she's blue, I'm blue. Yeah, they did that, but that was kind of the extent of it. I guess my only thought with this one is, granted, it has been a while since we saw this in the Shi'ar, but it feels so convenient to just have trial by combat as being the way out for the X-Men here. That all Storm has to do is defeat Callisto. We had that once before with the Shi'ar, and that's what led to the death of the Phoenix, right? That has been a while now, so I'm okay with it being in here again. It just seems like a convenient out that maybe they wrote themselves into a corner with this Morlock thing, but it was still cool to see Storm be a badass. We haven't really gotten a whole lot of that.
Yeah, and I almost like it's a great point that you bring up. I guess in my head, I think of it more like, well, that was like a team versus team thing, so I kind of like versus like this like Game of Thrones, like, one-on-one type of battle, type of thing. But, for all intents and purposes, you're right. It's the same exact thing. So it's a good point.
All right. Any other final thoughts, Stojr?
No. Good to go. Looking forward to the next issue.
All right. Well, once again, if you guys enjoyed our thoughts, follow us on YouTube. We are going to read, rate, and review a full, big collected edition comic once a month, plus these daily one-shots. Thank you all for watching and listening if you're listening to the audio podcast. All right, we'll see you guys next time.